All right, guys. So Dave Portnoy of Barstool Sports, he recently had this arc where he was arguing against conservatives relentlessly. What's that guy's name? Dan Bongino was going after him. Portnoy, like, very aggressively came out in favor of abortion. And again, remember, he has a mostly conservative, like, fan base, although they're not overtly political because they do sports shit. But, you know, he was attracting more of a right-wing audience. And then he did take a stand on abortion. And he's like, this is fucking crazy. You know, this is insane. And he said, like, I won't vote for Republicans at all, ever anymore. I'll vote for Democrats, you know, if they go through with this. And they went through with it, right? So now I'm sure that led to issues with losing the followers or whatever, and arguing really aggressively with Dan Bongino that he's probably had his mentions on Twitter full of people who are shitting on him a lot now. I mean, the advice I'd give him is simple. Dude, just don't read it. You'll be fine. Like, it's that simple, right? Like, if all you're getting is relentless bullshit and you think it's not warranted, then okay, just don't read it. You'll be fine. He doesn't strike me as a person who does that. He strikes me as a person who probably, you know, reads all the criticism and then sort of gets to him slowly but surely. Anyway. So now it seems like he sees an opportunity, right? He sees something. Oh, I can criticize this, and this is on the Democratic side. Maybe I'll do this, and maybe I'll get back in the right wingers' graces. So here we have in media. Dave Portnoy rips Nazi Germany backdrop of Biden's speech. Our president looked like fucking Hitler. So I have the video here. Let's listen to what Dave says.
Okay, I always say I hate talking politics because no matter what, one extreme will fucking come for your throat no matter what you say. But here I am, talking politics, sort of. As much as I say hate it, I don't know, I'm glutton for punishment. So I'm minding my own business last night, watching college football, had Tennessee for 50 dimes, one easy, gave it out, no big deal, 50 grand, big deal. And these images, I'm not watching what Biden's speech, I didn't even know he had a fucking speech. But all these images come out, and my God, the man looks like Nazi Germany with a dash of Cold War Soviet Union with a dash of Dwight Schrute.
No revolution is worth anything unless it can defend itself.
Now, by the way, let me just say, here's what I'm convinced of with Biden's setting around him there. They really started leaning into the dark branded thing after they realized, oh, wait, there are people who are young and kind of edgy and like what I'm doing recently. Like when I go after the media, when the media tries to say, is this fair to eliminate some student loan debt? And Biden turns around and he says, was it fair to give tax cuts in 2017 where 83% of the benefits went to the top 1%? Was that fair? Is it fair to subsidize giant corporations as working class people get hosed? Is that fair? So Biden had that moment, and people, young people, lefties online, edgy lefties were like, oh shit, this is fun. I like this. I hope he does this more. I hope he goes aggressively after the media more. I hope he aggressively goes after Republican politicians more because they're scumbags and they're corrupt and they're doing nothing but serving the wealthy. So they had a moment, and apparently there were reports Biden actually kind of enjoys the dark branded memes behind the scenes. You know, there's some staffer who's probably following this stuff, and they just show it to Biden, and Biden's like, haha, that's cool. So it looks like they went with the dark branded aesthetic, where they were like, yeah, you know, he's got the red laser eyes and the dark branded thing, so yeah, put the red lights behind him. That's probably what happened. It's no deeper than that. It's no deeper. And then, of course, if you snap a picture when he's in the middle of, like, yelling a line in his speech, it's going to look like, ah. But does anybody, you know, is it Hitler-esque for anybody to yell? Because you could find a picture of any political figure anywhere on the spectrum who's, like, yelling, right? And then it can look like, oh, shit. Oh, look at that. It's so Hitler-esque, bro. So this all, literally, we're having a discussion about optics. Just optics. Nothing about the substance, just optics. Okay, so there's your groundwork for that. You say Hitler, the goal was dark branded. That was the goal. Leaning into the thing that had been fucking working for him and getting people to actually like him for the first time in his entire time in fucking office. And the dark branded thing becomes more and more palatable the more he does half decent shit. Like give health care to veterans who were poisoned by toxic burn pits. Do you support that, Dave Portnoy? I do you? Jon Stewart was crusading for that and shamed every Republican in the country, and it effectively worked. And so the Democrats got that through. when he does things like cancel some amount of student loan debt for 43 million working Americans who are behind the eight ball and have been going through their lives with a fucking anvil tied to their neck, when he does a half decent thing like that, then the dark brand stuff is like, cool, sweet. Now, if he's sitting on his ass all day and not helping anybody but serving the rich, well, then the dark brand stuff is like, please. It's like a joke, right? But anyway, he says Hitler, the goal was dark Brandon, as I think any reasonable person understands.
The dash of Hunger Games, just like the biggest dictator looking set ever. So
I can't not make this point. This video is coming out like a couple days after Trump literally said on Truth Social, hey, just reinstall me as president, or at the very least, redo the election today. And you're going to say, oh, this guy looks like a dictator because of the red lights behind him. Come on, man. This is so weak.
Surreal. It's surreal. It's actually like laugh out loud funny because you know how much money politicians, especially the president, spend on everything like staging, hair, makeup, lighting. And they come up with this. They come up with this set. Pictures going viral. And today we have Democrats defending it, being like, it wasn't that bad if you're
Dave, are they defending it because they think it's based to look like Hitler? Dave, is that what they're doing? Or are they saying, actually looking like Hitler's really cool? Is that what they're saying, Dave? Is that a fair summation of the people who disagree with you, of their views? Or is the fair summation, number one, who gives a fuck about optics? And number two, they were going for dark Brandon, so relax. What do you think is a fair summation of the people who disagree with you? This is part of my problem with politics in today's day and age. Is like, why is it people struggle so mightily to accurately represent the views of the person who they're disagreeing with? It's not that hard. It's not that hard. You're willing to go to the mat and die on the hill of optics bad. Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? I do not care. For all I care, he could have exhumed the body of Himmler and put it behind him in the speech. But if the motherfucker announces Medicare for all in that speech, it's a base speech. I don't care about the optics. Now, obviously, that was a joke, right? Comedic exaggeration about the Himmler thing. But you get the point, right? Ultimately, this is meaningless. It's a low IQ conversation to get stuck on the optics only. Look, I'm open to conversations and debates about optics, reasonable debates about it. But when that is the 100% of the crux of your argument, I'm no longer interested. Because then you're missing the forest for the trees. It's no longer about what's actually happening here. What was the substance of that speech? The substance of that speech was, hey, dog, this Republican Party has gone absolutely mad. Trump is saying, reinstate me as president. Trump is saying, at the very least, redo the election. You got virtually every Republican who loses an election nowadays comes out and says, it was robbed. It was rigged. It was robbed. I'm not going to accept defeat ever. Laura Loomer just did that shit in Florida. Sarah Palin lost because of ranked choice voting, and now she's out there saying it's rigged. So Biden's like, hey, this is a problem, right? Like, this isn't good. This is full authoritarianism. Now, I'm not going after every Republican here because there's plenty of Republicans who look at it and say this is bad. But there's a specific wing of the Republican Party, and he calls it the MAGA wing. And this is a problem, and we need to talk about this. That was the point of the speech. Are you going to not discuss that at all? Because like, oh my God, he looks scary.
focused on this. I just retweeted a guy who's like, oh, what? President's never spoken with the military behind him with like a picture of George Bush in the middle of the day with like a Navy like aircraft carrier and American flag. It looked actually great.
Oh.
And this.
See, now he illustrates my point perfectly here. And I hope Dave Portnoy is watching this because I don't mean this with any disrespect, right? I'm trying to be as reasonable as possible in responding to what Dave Portnoy is saying here. The problem with that Bush speech, forget the fact the military is behind him. Whatever, don't care, agree with you on that. So put that aside, The problem with that speech was what? The message of that speech, Dave Portnoy, was, you saw that mission accomplished banner behind George Bush? He went out there and proclaimed victory in the war in Iraq, did a whole speech about it, had the mission accomplished banner up, and then we proceeded to stay in Iraq. Illegally. For fucking decades. So yes, when you wage an illegal war based on lies, you do torture to cover it up, you occupy a country and kill minimum hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians. There's a whole, corruption complex with the reconstruction of both Iraq and Afghanistan. They're just looting the treasury. Dick Cheney getting millions of dollars from Halliburton as he gives them a no-bid contract in return. Rank corruption. Just rank corruption. The problem was the substance of that George W. Bush speech. That's the problem. The substance of it. The substance of it. Lying about ending a war, which was an illegal war to begin with. That's the problem with that. That was one of the lowest moments of his presidency, and there's a lot to pick from there too, right? But he's like, oh yeah, no, that looked cool. But Biden having red lights behind him and caught in a picture yelling, oh my God, Hitler, Mao, Stalin, Mussolini. Come on, these are the people who talk about, don't be a triggered snowflake. And then what? You're shitting your pants over a picture of Biden with some red lights behind him? This is Joe Biden. The guy's in the early stages of dementia. You want to make a substantive criticism? Talk about that. But no, it's all just optics. It's optics garbage.
This is my point. If you can't look at the photos and the imagery that came out from Biden last night, and without a doubt, it was the worst staging in the history of American politics. They always talk about the debate with Nixon, Kennedy. Nixon's like sweating. I don't know. I wasn't born. This man, our president, looked like fucking Hitler. I'm not saying he's Hitler. I didn't really even listen to a lot of the speech. He looked like fucking a caricature. He looked like Hitler. If you're a Democrat and you can't admit how awful and how bad and how big of a misstep that was and almost laugh at it, then you're a demented brain. That's all I want to say.
So if you disagree with Dave Portnoy about this, you're a demented brain. That's what he says.
If you're arguing that, no, that wasn't a big deal, who cares? What are you talking about? The imagery. No, that matters. That'll be used in campaign. In fact, if you're Biden, you should probably, instead of all your dumbass tweets, you should probably tweet like a joke like, man, I look like the H-Man last night. But
then people would just take that and spin it as like, see, he's admitting it. See, they're saying that they're going to go full authoritarian and full fascist. What are you talking about, Dave?
If you are that stuck in your views, and it happens both ways, where you can't objectively be like, holy...
Is the enlightened centrist take. It's both sides, bro. It's both sides do it. You know what I'm saying?
Holy fuck, who did that? Well, then your brain's fucking broken. Because that was the worst imagery of all time. Our president looked like fucking Hitler. And anyone who says otherwise is full of shit. And that's why politics suck. You just people arguing like, what? What are you talking about? I didn't see anything wrong. Of course you did.
Dave, the problem here is you got so upset by the optics of the Biden speech. The optics. And you're saying, oh my God, he looks like Hitler. Oh my God, looks like fascism and authoritarianism. And oh. The same time you're making this point, a couple days earlier, Trump literally said, just put me back in as president. Or at the very least, redo the election. Put me back in. He came out and said, I am funding the January 6th defendants. I'm giving them money. If I become president again, I'm going to do a full pardon to all of them and apologize. The people who stormed the Capitol with the intent of overthrowing the government and doing a coup. He's funding them. He's talking about doing a full pardon of them. So you have one guy who's literally embracing the idea of let's go full authoritarianism. That's Trump. He's not hiding it. He's not even hiding it. He's saying it. And you got so triggered by optics, you did a whole 2-minute and 50-second video implying, hey, looks like he's going full authoritarian or full Hitler because look at the color of the background in his speech and the fact that he's yelling. Do you see the problem here, Dave? Do you see the problem? This is when you get so obsessed by the minutia that you miss the big picture. And then you end up looking silly in the process. So he says, look, if you disagree with me on this, you have a demented brain. No, Dave, my reaction, it's not that I disagree with you. My reaction is I don't care about the optics. Because what was just recently in the news about what Biden's been doing? Some student loan debt reduction. Oh, based. Like that. Giving health care to veterans who were victims of toxic burn pits. Based. I like that. Raising corporate taxes to 15% as opposed to 0. A lot of them are total fucking welfare queens and, rob us. Some of them get a net subsidy, some corporations do. He's raising their taxes to 15% minimum. Based. I like that. $64 billion more to give people health care under Obamacare. Based. I like that. Lowering some prescription drug prices. Based. I like that. Trying to bring microchip manufacturing back to the United States. Based. I like that. So when I look at the recent things that have been done, I go, oh, these things are half decent. They're the bare minimum, to be fair. They're the bare minimum. But they're half decent. Whereas all Trump is doing 24/7 is going around denying crimes that he obviously fucking committed. He's caught red-handed committing, taking money from Saudi Arabia. Jared took $2 billion from Saudi Arabia and openly saying, I'm going to be an authoritarian and I'd like to be put back in as our president with no election, please, or at the very least redo the election. And by the way, if I lose that one, I'll say that one's rigged as well. So I think what they actually do matters more, Dave Portnoy. But look, I get it. Here's my final breakdown of what he did here is very simple. This is a guy who was dunked on over and over and over for saying I'm pro-choice. And he lost a lot of followers as a result of that. And he stayed principled on that, and I give him credit for that. But now it feels like I got to pander a little bit more to the right because I lost some right-wing supporters, so let me just do this goofy attack. Well, it's exactly that, Dave. It's goofy. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.